Yo, what's good YouTube? This is Angel with you, and today I got a new video for you guys. Basically, we're going to be building a ToDo application in TypeScript React from scratch, and we're basically going to be covering up the CRUD part of the application. The login part has been already covered in the Ionic authentication system tutorial, so I'm just going to add that over here, and I'm just going to pass the login section. Let's go into the edit ToDo, and this is basically where all the magic is going to be happening. Let's get to it, alright? So basically what I'm going to be doing over here, we're just going to be creating, reading, updating, and deleting. So that is basically what we're going to be doing today, alright? So let's just console.log that CRUD application. Let's just keep that to the side. So that is going to be CRUD application, alright? So we're just going to be test task 1. Let's create a new task. And as you can see, the new to do object result, we just created a new to do object. And if we refresh the task, it's 4 now. Scroll down a little bit. As you can see right now, it has been updated. So this is the create part. This is the read part where you're going to be displaying the application and reading it, reading the application information that's passed from the API to the application itself. Afterwards, we're going to be updating that from false to true. So if the task is done, we can just update that to true. So we could then also, that is going to be the update part. And finally, the delete part, this is going to be just a button that's going to be deleting the task with the object ID. And as you can see, the task has been deleted. So basically, this is what we're going to be doing in the video, guys. So I will see you guys in the next section. We're going to be setting up this project from scratch. Again, if you want to do the authentication section, just make sure to watch the authentication system playlist. See you guys in the next section where we're going to be just setting up the project requirements, and afterwards I'm going to be doing the project structure. Peace. In terms of the project requirements, all you really need to do is just go into Google, search Node.js, download that for Windows. Make sure to download the recommended version or the current as you wish, but I usually use this one, the recommended version. Alright, you could use again 19 if you want to, but for Ionic I usually use this. This is the one that works with me. Alright, afterwards we're just going to be doing Visual Studio Code. This is the code editor that we're going to be using today. Alright, so download that also for Windows if you're using Windows, for Linux, Mac, and so on. So that is basically the programs that we're going to be installing, right? In the next section, I'm going to be setting up the Ionic project, and afterwards we're going to be doing the project structure after the project itself is installed. So see you guys in the next video. In terms of setting up the project, all we really need to do is just open up a new CMD, run as administrator. Alright. Just make sure you installed npm like in the first video, which is Node.js, so just do Node.v as well. And as those are installed, we are just going to install the npm package, alright? And I have the readme on the side over here. I'll have how I set up the project in case we need anything from that, alright? So we're just going to npm install globally, and then add Ionic client, alright? And I'm just gonna let that install. Alright, so I'm gonna see you guys in the next section, which is basically afterwards we're just gonna be creating the project structure, but for now we're just gonna be setting up the project. I'm just gonna let it install for a second. Alright, and all I really need you to do right now is just close up this browser, open up a new folder on your desktop or wherever you want to store your project. I'm gonna call it Ionic. I'm gonna put that to the side over here, and I'm just gonna open up a new window over here for my Visual Studio Code. This is how your Visual Studio Code should look like when you start a new Visual Studio Code. You're just gonna go over here to the side, you're gonna find File, alright, so File and then Open Folder, Desktop, and then go into your Ionic folder, alright. then just open up your terminal. All right, and let me just close these. We just need the terminal, right? We don't really need all of these. I just have some extra terminals. So this is how it should look like, and all we really need to do right now is just do Ionic start, and then the type, the flag type is going to be equal to React, and then capacitor. Alright, and let me just double check the documentation that I did. Alright, so here it is. Yep, so Ionic start, the type is going to be React and capacitor, and all I just forgot is the name of the application, which is going to be ToDo app. Alright, and I'm just going to let that start, and it's going to give me into this quick start, so I'm just going to click a blank. This is the one that I'm going to be using. Alright, and I'm just going to let it install, and afterwards, you guys, we are just going to basically do the project structure, and I'm going to make this as short as possibly as I can. Alright, so I'll see you guys in the next section, where basically this is just going to be taking a little while to install. Alright, you guys, so in terms of basically setting up the project structure, this is how it should look like after installing the project. So you could create a free Ionic account if you want to, but right now I'm not going to do that. Alright, so all you really need to do is just open up that folder again. Alright, and just go into the ToDo application itself, and we're just going to be creating up the files that we're going to be needing today, and we're going to be discussing that really easily. Alright, so all we really need to do in the project structure over here, I'm just going to explain that really simply. You have your assets folder, which is basically going to have in some basic icons and shapes, and index.html, which is going to be rendered all the pages to. Afterwards, you're going to have this source folder. Alright, and basically this is where all our application is going to be inside. Alright, so we're going to have this components folder, which is going to hold in our components. So let's just create a new folder, and let's call it create ToDo. Alright, and we're going to create a new file, call it create todo.tsx, and let's just leave that empty for now. Alright, and afterwards we're just going to go into pages, and we're also going to create a new folder, and we're going to call that edit ToDo, and that is basically where we're going to be editing all the to-dos and updating them and deleting them. Alright, so edit todo.tsx. Also, let's just leave that empty for now. So that is basically all in terms of the project structure for the files that we're going to be creating. We are going to also organize that as long as the as we continue on the project. But let me just do one last file. That is going to be .env file. Alright, and that env file is basically just a file that's going to hold up our API keys, but safely, so that it's going to be better for production. And for applications that are based on React, we need to start with React app, and I'm just going to leave that, and I'm just going to do Alt Shift and downwards 4 times for the links that basically the API keys that we're going to get. Alright, and I'm going to discuss how we're going to do that in the next section. Alright, but just bear with me, this is going to be very simple. Alright, so React app, and then Parse. Alright, just make sure they're in uppercase, so React app, Parse app ID, React app, Parse host URL. Alright, and just make sure to add equals, and then React app JavaScript key. So that's going to be 3 times. And let me just double check the documentation I read before for the project. Alright, so I have that closed, but I'm just going to open that up just really quickly for you guys just to make sure I don't have anything forgotten. Go to the README. And yep, these are just the three. All right, so I'm just gonna be setting up right now the parse, but before we do that, we're just gonna be finishing up setting up the project, and we're gonna get these API keys just in a few more moments, but we're just gonna be adding in the applications or the packages that we're gonna be using right now. All right, so see you guys in that section. All right, you guys, so to install the packages that we're gonna use for the project, we're just gonna be using Yarn, and we really don't really need to use Yarn, but if you want to, you can. So we're just gonna do that. So just make sure you are in the terminal like I was in this last section, and just do Ionic config and then set globally yarn to true. Alright, so yarn set to true as you could see, and just yarn install. Alright, as you could see there is a package.lock, so you could just delete that, and it's gonna create a new yarn.lock file. Alright, so I'm just gonna let it install, and I'll be back just to set up Back4app, the API keys, but just make sure you guys to sign up while it is installed. Just go to Back4app and just sign up with GitHub, Google, or sign up with your email, and I'll just log in and I'll show you what basically we're gonna be creating today. Alright, so I'll see you guys in the next section where basically we're gonna be setting up the API keys, and afterwards we're gonna be setting up the back-end schema for our application to-do list. So I'll see you guys into the next two sections. Alright, you guys, so basically we just finished up installing Yarn instead of npm. So afterwards we're just going to be setting up right now the packages that we're going to be needing to set up Parse the Back4app application. Like I said, just sign up in the last section. So just go to Back4app and just sign up there. It's for free. Let me clear everything up, and let me just basically start installing the packages. So if I go into my README, this is the packages that we're going to be using today. It's just going to be one line, and it's going to be these two packages, which is going to be Parse React, alright, and Parse, the JavaScript SDK, alright. So we're just going to install that in one command, and that is going to be yarn add Parse React and then Parse. Alright, I'm gonna let that install, and that is basically the packages that we're gonna be using for today. So in the next section I'm gonna be basically just doing the schema that I did for my previous project. So see you guys in that section. Alright, you guys, so after signing up to Back4app, all you really need to do is just build a new app, give your application a name. We're gonna call it to-do BackEnd, create that, and we're just gonna give it a moment while it's installing. And basically we're gonna be creating two strings, or actually three of them. That is gonna be the task, the title, and the description, two dates, and just one Boolean value. And just to explain to you guys simply, Back4app has documentation. So Back4app to do docs API, they have a special object for the to-do list. Alright, so here it is, just for the documentation if you want to check that on your own. We're going to be adding in the title, we're going to be adding in the description, we're also going to be adding in the task itself is completed and created at and updated at. All right. So as you can see right now, this is the new Back4app database. So we're just going to create a new class. All right. So we're just going to go over here on the left, create a class, and we're just going to call it ToDo. We could just select one of these, but we're just going to select custom, add in protected mode. But basically we can change that. These are basically security rules. Alright, so these are basically just read, write, and protect authorization basically. So we're just going to create the class and we're going to add in the column. Alright, you can also create that in public mode. Alright, so we're just going to keep this for public for now, right? But for production we're going to change this. Alright, so create class. Alright, right now we have nothing in it, just update that, created and the ACL, and basically the ACLs is just the security rules for, here they are, the class permissions, class level permissions, the CLPs. So you could change those. Alright, right now I have them public, but if you follow the user authentication one, you could make those, you could just close those and just make this authenticated because you already have the login system. Alright, but for now I'm going to keep this public. This is just going to be for development version. I'm just going to cancel, and let's add in rows. Alright, so right now actually we're not going to add in rows. Rows are basically the things that are going to be inside, so we're going to add in columns. So like I said, 3 strings. We're going to call it title. We can add in a default value, so we could add in to task title. Is it a required field? Yes, that is going to be a required field. We're going to add in a column and continue. That is going to be the, already added the title, so we're just going to add in the task, and we're just going to be calling that task, add the column and continue, description, and we could just call that task description. And is there a required field? Yes, as well. Add column and continue. We're just going to add in one last thing that is going to be a boolean value. Alright, so we're just going to find that. Here it is, and we're just going to call it and is completed. Right, and we're just going to give it a default value of false. Is it a required field? Yes, and it's already going to have a default value of false. Alright, so we're just going to add in that column and continue. Alright, that is pretty much it. We're not going to add in anything else for the backend schema. Right now it is empty, but we're going to be starting populating that with the CRUD steps that we are going to be going to. But before we do that, just keep the browser to the side. Keep this documentation to this also in the same link if you want to. So we could just put that here. Alright, and just for now, we're just gonna basically set up the Back4app connection to our Ionic application. Alright, so see you guys in that section. Alright guys, so basically we're going to be setting up the API keys. To do that from the last section, we're just going to go into more over here on the left. Alright, and we're going to find something called app settings also. Alright, so security and keys. Alright, and we're just going to copy and paste those. Alright, so application ID. We're going to put that over here, and we're going to put the JavaScript key as well. And one last thing, this is going to be the parse host URL. All right, so this is basically the syntax that we're going to be setting up Parse with. And in the previous project I just added that into my app.tsx, so we don't have to keep on starting it over and over again. All right, so basically I'm just going to do Ionic serve, and we're going to get an error because right now I don't have anything over here, but all we really need to do is just do rfce. That is going to be an arrow function, just a empty arrow function in the pages and the components. That is why I left those empty. Alright, so rfce, and if you don't fill those up, this is basically just going to give you an error. So I just did that really quickly, and I'm going to get the parse host URL from my old project. Alright, so in that dot, here it is, and that is going to be basically just a string. Alright, so to set it up, basically right now we're going to open up the application, and it's basically still empty. We still do not have anything in it, so we're just going to be setting up the parse itself. Alright, so for initializing parse itself, we're just going to go into app.tsx, and we're just going to import initialize parse from @parse_react. Okay, let me just double check that. So yeah, I could just get that over here, copy and paste that. It is the same thing, but just double checking. Alright, and I'm just gonna go into over here my application, and I'm just gonna do a return statement. I'm gonna put the Ionic application over here. Alright, and right now it is giving me an error. Let me tell you why, because basically we just need to change this into a functional component or something else than this. Alright, so we're just gonna change that, and again we can do rfce, but that's not really necessary. So we could just do function, or actually let's just remove this, export default function, then app, and then we're just gonna do return, and we're just gonna paste everything that was there already. Alright, so afterwards we're just gonna call that initialize parse client. Alright, and we're gonna be starting adding in the server URL. So this is gonna be the server URL, and then we're gonna be adding in the app ID, and this is all from Parse. So one last thing, that's gonna be the JavaScript key. Alright, and that is why I assigned them to a .env file, so we're gonna get there from there. Alright, so just let me call those. So to call those, all we actually need to do is just remove these, and we're gonna open up backticks, and we're gonna call process.env, and then just the name of the variable itself. Alright, so that's gonna be React app ID, React app parse ID, I'm sorry. So we could just React app parse ID, and then the JavaScript key. Alright, so I'm just gonna copy that, React app, and then let me just call that parse JavaScript key, and let me copy that. And again, just one last process .env dot the name, but it's not working because I did not use the backtick. So again, just make sure to add in the backticks. And finally, we're just going to add in this host URL. This is the API server URL itself. Alright, so that is basically going to be the setup. Let us compile right now and see what is going to happen. If there are any errors, it's basically going to show us that in the initialized parse. So let me just double check the console on everything. Alright. Okay, so is it giving me errors? Failed to parse source map. I think we just need to restart the server. Right, so let's just Ionic serve and double check our variable names. And also let me check my old project. Right, so I did that. Backtick, same thing. Basically, it is the same thing. I think we just need to restart the server. Alright, so just restarting. I'm gonna give it a moment. Alright, so it's not giving us any issues anymore, even if, let me just clear that and show you that more clearly. So that basically means that right now we have no errors in our client. And actually, let's just go into our network and double check that. Alright, so right now we're just getting no errors. So for now, basically the client is connected and we can use Parse anywhere. If you have any errors into this, it will be consoled over here. So you guys in the next section where we're basically going to be start creating the CRUD application. Alright, see you guys in the next video. Alright you guys, so right now we're going to be in the create to do section, basically in that component. All I just really need you to do is just go into your edit to do component and just import that. Alright, so we're just going to import the create to do from the components and we're just going to render that. Alright, so we just see what we're doing. Okay, and we're just going to render that as a regular component. And let's continue on over here. By the way, I have on the side my project over here built, just so I don't waste your time by going through everything. Alright, so I'm just gonna remove everything from here and I'm gonna export. I'm actually gonna import everything first. Let's import React, and also we're gonna import the use state and use effect hook. Alright, from React. Alright, afterwards we're just gonna be importing the Ionic GUI components. So Ionic component, Ionic label, Ion input, and Ion text area, Ion button, Ion icon, and just two more things. That's going to be the icon grid, the Ion grid, and Ion row. Alright, Ion row, and that is going to be from Ionic. And again, like I said, I just have the project on the side in case I missed anything. So that's going to be from @Ionic React. Okay. Alright, so this was just wrong in syntax, and that's it. This is all the imports that we're going to be using for now. Okay, so we're just going to export default a function. This is just a normal component function. Alright, and we're just going to return an empty fragment for now. We're not going to return anything for it, but we just want to name that function to something, and that is going to be create create to do. All right. So let's actually start by doing the state variable and state action. All right. Also, and assign properties. So we're just gonna be const new to do, and that's gonna be an object. All right. So no to do object, and set also the new to do object, and that is going to be a use state. All right, and inside that we're just going to add in an object with these three properties. And by the way, what I just used is called something called tab 9. It's like GitHub autopilot or copilot, if you know what I mean. And this basically helps you with just normal repetitive tasks like this. So I just assigned three properties for my object over here. So this is an object. So anything between those two lines, let's do it again. This is going to be an object, and we're going to be assigning a title property that is going to be a string, a description that is going to be a string, a task that is going to be also a string. Afterwards, we're going to be add is completed, which is going to be a Boolean value. So that is going to be false. Created at, and that is going to be a new date with an object initializer, and also updated at. All right, so that is going to be new date, and that is pretty much it. All right, let's go right now and create the async arrow function that is basically going to handle out creating the object for us. All right, so we're just going to const create new. Let me close this for you guys. New to do object. And by the way, I do have the project written here before, just to not waste your time. I'm explaining what I did before. So again, if I get stuck in anything, I could just go over here and just check out what I did before. All right. So I just created a const, and I did an async arrow function before. You could do just a normal function if you want to as well. You don't really need to use the async function, but this is what I did. All right. So let's continue. All right. And what am I gonna do first of all? All right. So first of all, I'm gonna create a new to do, and that is gonna be a new parse dot object, and basically it's gonna take the class of to do. All right. And also we're gonna set the new to do object. All right. But right now we're having an error, and that is going to be because basically const parse is not imported. So this is the way that I imported from normal parse. So const parse equal require parse. This is just like import, but it's called require. And as you can see right now, the error is gone. All right. Okay. So right now we're gonna set the new to do class over here to the new to do object. All right, so new to do object, and we're gonna close that, and we're gonna do something called a try and catch statement. Right, and basically a try catch statement, it's gonna help us get the API request and create basically a post request for our new to do object. All right, so let me just check what I did before. As I do remember, I just need to await and save. Yep. So I just need to do const the new to do object, and that is going to be basically the new to do. And then as you can see, again, I'm just checking out my old code over here. We're just going to await the new to do parse object and save that to database. All right, so await, that is why we used an async function, because we're going to do an await new to do, and dot save. This is a Parse method. All right, so I'm gonna put that link for the description for this method. This is basically gonna save the new to do object to your back end. All right, let's continue. Again, I want to make this as short as possible. We're just gonna be doing a JSON string. I'm gonna be returning this as a JSON string. So const new to do object JSON, for example, and that is gonna be just the JSON.stringify, and that is gonna be the new to do object. All right, console.log the new to do, or actually we don't really need the console. Let's alert that. So alert the new to do object has been created. You can give it a little bit of a styling like here, and then just add in the new do object JSON. All right, so this is going to be stringified. Afterwards, we're just going to be alerting if there is an error found. All right, so error was found in create new to do object, and we're just going to plus that error. And that is pretty much it for the create the new to do function. But right now there is something that you could kind of see that it's kind of missing. We don't have something that's going to handle our properties from the inputs that the user is going to enter, which is basically the new to do task inputs. So we're just going to do a function for that. All right, and that is going to be basically also a normal function. This is going to be a normal arrow function. So const handle new to do, or you could handle to do change, for example. All right, and that again is going to be an arrow function. So I'm just going to assign it in that, and basically we're going to be assigning an event to that because we want to basically get the user input and change the user inputs from the input name, the HTML5 property name, HTML5 like this. Let me show you an example. If I go into the return statement over here, let me just remove that, create a new one, and let's create an ion input, and let's just give that the name of title. So basically whatever name is gonna be like, we need to match the same name here to the same property here. We want it to basically handle the change in the inputs. So when we write something in the inputs, we want that function to handle that change and then pass it to the properties, and then that create new to do object is created. So basically you don't have to pass the properties as each property. That's why I'm passing it in that way. So that's why I'm gonna be also doing this arrow function. All right, so all we really need to do right now is just set the new to do object to previous. All right, and this previous is going to take an any, so any, and then we're just going to be mapping over that basically with the event that target that name. All right, let me just double check that again from the documentation over here. All right, yep, we're gonna be just using the iterator here. All right, so previous, we're gonna iterate over the previous value to be the event dot target dot name to be equals to the event target dot value. Again, I'm just making sure. Yep, so event dot target dot value, and basically this is gonna, like I said, just handle the name properties over here, the HTML5 properties passed, and basically it's just gonna assign the values to them, and it's gonna set that to the new to do object, again and create the new to-do object afterwards. So we're done basically creating the logic for the page. Right now, I'm just going to add in a comment over here, handle to do change, and we're just going to be creating right now the GUI, okay? Alright guys, so right now we're going to be creating the GUI, so all I really need you to do is just open up the server by Ionic serve and basically just keep it to the right over here. Let's continue, alright? So before just doing the GUI completely, we're just going to add in the normal inputs and let's just make sure we're actually seeing this component, alright? So let's actually not add this to the edit to do. Let's actually add this to right now the home just to debug it, and you could add it wherever you want to later on. So we're just going to add in over here create to do, and let's refresh that. Right now we don't have anything in our create to do object. We could just add in something. Let's add in an empty fragment for now. Let's add in test create. Let's refresh that. It's just compiling, so I'm just going to give that a moment. And here it is. So let's continue, right? So like I said, now sorry, a little bit sick. All right, so like I said, we're just gonna be passing in the name properties over here for the values over here. So we just keep that in front of us, and let's continue. All right. So we already had the title, so that is gonna be an ion input name of title, and here it is. It's not really shown still. So ion input name is gonna be title, and also on change, make sure on ion change to add in the handle to do change. All right, so I'm just gonna copy this 3 more times because we have 3 other strings, and that is gonna be description, that is gonna be also the task itself, and afterwards we're gonna be adding 2 more, but these are basically gonna be date. All right. Oh, actually, we don't really need to add those. These are going to be added automatically because we are already having these new object initializers. All right. So afterwards, we're just going to be adding in one last thing. That is going to be the ion button. All right. And on click, that is basically going to take the create new to do object. All right. So to do object, here it is. And let's just add this for example, and let's make it color to be success. Let's just check that out now. Refresh that. All right. So right now, as you can see, it just gave us an error. The title is required. So let's try and add in test, test, test. So as you can see, the new to-do object has been created. So that is why I am basically just doing this before completely doing the GUI. So let's continue doing the GUI. I'm just testing out that the object itself is passed to the Back4app API. So let me open that to you guys. Go into the network tab. I'm just gonna reload. Let's just create a new one. Test, test, another test. And right now, we're not posting actually anything. So we're actually going to continue right now because basically we did not submit that. We want to make a form and then submit that. In my old project, as you can see over here, I did just a simple grid, and inside that grid I did basically and on submit. It's not on click. So this is the old project. All right, and let's check out also the API for if it's actually created or not. All right, so I'm just gonna go into my Parse application and just go into the to-do list. Give it a few more moments. And again, here's the old project just to revise what I did before. I did not use the on submit, I actually did the on click, but there is something missing. There's something that I'm doing that is not correct. So I did the save, I did the new parts object. All right, so why isn't the request getting passed? So actually it has been created, as you can see over here. The object has been created successfully. Unfortunately, it's kind of like, I don't know why it's not showing over here that it's created. Like, let's try that again. Again, it's not showing that it is created over here, but if I go into my Back4app and just refresh that, as you can see, the new object has been added. All right, so let's continue. I'm just going to go back to the local host and I'm just going to continue styling this one. All right, so since it works, we just want to style that correctly. All right, first off, we just want to change this to an Ion text area. All right, let's give that also a style of, this is the only style we're going to add over here like this. You're not really supposed to do that, but this is just because I don't want my text area to be resized to something weird, right? And let's also change the color scheme. If you want to, you can just go into, where is it, theme, and then variables.css, and just go down over here. Just change the prefers color scheme to light if you wanna use the light scheme. So I'm just gonna give it a moment and that it's gonna update on its own. Let's just continue over here. So we're gonna be doing an ion grid. All right, an ion grid. And as you can see right now, it has been turned into the light theme, but I like the dark theme better, is better for my eyes. All right, here it is. And I'm just gonna give that, what was it called? All right, again, check out the old project. So in a normal situation, I'm not really used to doing this. Like, I don't really copy from my other projects as much as I can, but this is my own project because I don't want to waste your time. So I'm just gonna do a fixed column over here. This is the fixed grid, I'm sorry, and an ion row. All right, we're just gonna add in an ion column, and let's think about it for a second. In Bootstrap and all the uh, systems of grid, the normal size of a grid system is 12. So if like we want to add in two that are going to be at the size of 6, so title and description, and we're also going to give it the ion label because right now we cannot see what basically the user is going to be adding. So we could just add in the title, and let's just check that out how it looks. So yeah, as you can see right now, that looks a little bit better. Let's add in the same thing, but we're just gonna change that to be the task itself. All right, so task. All right, and also let's add in the same thing, but okay, but that is gonna be a text area. All right, and we're gonna give that actually a column size of 10, and we're gonna give that I am button, all right, another column size, but that is gonna be just 2 because that is just a button. We don't want that to be really that big. So size equal to 2. Let's check that out now. All right. So that looks a little bit better, but let's just style that a little bit more. Let's give that an expand to block. Check that out now. So yep, color is gonna be, let's try, why success does not work. Yeah, it does work for now. Did not work before, just a second ago. And also let's add in some placeholders, alright? So placeholder, that is gonna be enter title here. So as you can see, placeholders, another placeholder, this is gonna be a task, and another one over here as well. But I do remember for the text area this does not work, so let me just test that. Yeah, that does not work on the test area. No, actually it does. So we could just enter description here, and that is beautiful. I think that is enough for basically just a simple one. All right. Um, let's continue on. All right, let's continue on just changing out this GUI a little bit more. Let's just add in an ion item. All right, let's add in inside that ion item everything, but we just wanna import that. All right, we could also do that, and that's gonna look like that. It's gonna look a little bit better. We can also give it the color of, let's do it success because it looks pretty cool in green. And actually, let's just change the color of the label because I want that label to be green. So, okay. I want that actually like hovering thing to be green. So I just want to remind myself how I did that before. So let me go back to old project. Alright, I think I just need to do the positioning for the label. So position is equal to stack. Let's check that out, how it looks now. Yep, here it is. This is how I want it to look like, alright? So let's just copy this 2 more times into the task, and this one is going to be the description. Let's just change the label. Alright, let's check that out. I think that looks a little bit better, but we need to wrap those into ion items. That's why it's not showing. Alright, ion item, another ion item, and let's add in this also inside the column. Let's check it out now. Alright, I think that does look good for now. That looks pretty cool. And let's add in also some maximum values. Alright, so in terms of the maximum values, let's go over here. Max, and this is going to be actually called max length. So let's add in for the title, let's call it like maybe 25. Also for the max length for the task itself, 25. And for the description, let's keep it 100. Alright. Let's also do one last thing. Let's just go to the home component. Let's just remove that ugly, yani, let's just remove that. I hate that, like, but it's cool that for like educational purposes. So you could check that out if you want to check out the how to pass properties and all in the explore container. This is just a simple container. So let's actually keep it, but let's just remove it from the home TSX. So where is it? Let's actually just remove that and comment this out for now. Alright, go back to the home page and let's change this title to be to do, and to do's, for example, or to do's like this. So let's go back over here. Let's just change this to a header. So Ion text, just Ion text. All right. Quick fix that. Let's just update that, and let's just change this into create to do, and basically we're gonna be done right now. But I just want to add in one last thing. That is gonna be just a simple emoji for to do. You can also use the Ion icons if you want to. So let's say we search to do, or let's task, for example, paper, maybe this one. All right. So let's actually try and do that. Uh, so inside that ion text, let's add in an ion icon. All right, and that icon is just gonna be, actually need to import that. So Ionic React icons, if you want to get the exact icon. All right, let's get the paper. All right, there are no example to the React one. I want to show you an example. Let's actually get it from the old project. So here it is. Like this is the add icon, for example. So we could just use that as well instead of that plus sign over here. So let's just ion icon, and icon is gonna be add, just to do the example. All right, go back to the application. All right, so there's an error. All right, attributes must only be, oh yeah, so I forgot to add in the icon over here. Let's add that, and let's also import paper, for example. Is there paper plain outline? All right, let's add this paper plain outline, for example, and let's add it over here. Can't just leave that icon empty. Let's check those out right now. All right, so what is happening? All right, so we're just getting an error in 119, 119, 119. All right, that's a little bit weird. And all right, let me just view common palette. Let me just format that document. All right. All right, so what is, oh, okay. Just need to remove that. Here it is. Here is the icon. And that is pretty much it, you guys, for the created to do. We're gonna be doing next. All right. So let's close these and let's go into edit the to do. And afterwards, we're just gonna be adding over here the read, update, and delete afterwards. So see you guys in the next section. We're gonna be displaying the to-do objects that we created in the next section. See you guys there. Alright guys, so basically right now we're gonna be doing the read part of the application. But instead of this to-do page, we're just gonna delete that. Alright. And also in the components, delete the Explorer container. So just delete that. And we're just gonna create a new component folder, and we're gonna call that edit to do, and inside there it's going to be an edit to do file, cssx file, rfce. All right, and then we're just going to create a new file in our components folder. It's called index.tsx. which is basically going to allow us to export default all the pages from one line. So when we import them, it's just going to be one line, all right? So and then create to do, and then same thing again for default as edit to do from the edit to do folder in the components folder. All right, and we're just gonna import those over here instead. All right, I'm just gonna remove that explore container like I said. Don't worry, we're gonna fix that right now. Import create to do and the also the edit to do. All right, let's just render that edit to do over here. Okay, just a second. We have nothing in the edit to do right now. All right, let me just check that out. Edit to do, and here it is. So it is working, and we're just going to be starting creating the part of the application. Okay, so in terms of the GUI, we're just going to import these icons and the Ionic components. So I'm just going to copy this from the old project because it like took me like 20 minutes to literally just import these in the previous take that I tried to do the video for this. All right, and also this is the icons that we're going to using. I'm going to just explain them really quickly. I have a button, a card that's going to have the to-dos. All right, and let me just go into my to-do list just a second. I'm just going to show you the cards and everything. All right, I'm just going to log in over here. And this is basically the shape of the cards and the buttons that we're going to be using. All right, we're going to do refresh tasks and the badge later on. This is what we imported over here. It's going to be called an Ion badge. This is the badge. And list is just going to be a list in the grid system. Ripple effect, this is going to be the ripple effect. And the title is basically going to be like this one. All right. So let's just close the demo over here and let's just continue on over here. Okay, we're also going to import some React hooks. This is going to be a React functional component, a React element. All right, afterwards we're going to also import the use callback hook. Let me just double check the syntax for the use callback. All right, I'll check that just in a moment. Use effect and use state. And basically use state is the one that we had in the create to do. Let me just close everything up. And this one is basically just the old project. I have it over here opened up just for to save up time. All right. Okay, so the use callback, as you can see, is basically just a functional in JavaScript over here, in React, in TypeScript, and in the normal JavaScript React one. It's just a memoized version of the callback that basically the user inputs are changing. Basically, this is going to be basically just calling the function one time if the inputs of the user is changed. Because if the user effect is used with this one, it's just going to be called one time. But if we do not do that, it's going to be in an infinite loop, right? And new state is basically just like in the create to do. So actually, we're just going to copy these from the create to do. It's just going to be the same, but the only difference is we're actually not going to use an arrow functional component. We're going to create a React functional component with a React element and an object. All right, and let me just get the syntax over here and explain to you what I did in the old project. All right, so here it is. We just want to do one last thing. We just also want to import Parse. We did not do that. All right, so const parse equals to require, and then just parse. All right. In terms of the tab itself, we need to do, like I said, the component. This was a tab in the old project, so this is going to be a functional component here, just a normal component. All right, I'm going to add in an object, and this is also going to be a React arrow functional component with the React element. And again, we're just going to be returning. And React element is basically just an interface. All right. And one last thing, we just want to return. Okay, so we're getting an error that we have something in the syntax that is incorrect. All right. Okay, so what's really missing over here, right? So I'm returning this also as well. Edit to do, return. Okay, let's just remove these for now. Also remove, oh, okay. We just need to add the arrow. Okay, so edit to do, and we're back again. Okay, let's keep that to the side. All right, again, like I said, so these errors happen, and this is basically how you like do a project. And it takes a little bit of a while sometimes, and just to save up time, I'm just opening up my old project over here. Okay, okay, so let's continue on. Let's do the same thing we did in the create to do, but the only difference is, let me actually do this from scratch so you could understand this. I'm just gonna get the properties. Okay, so we basically want all our to-do tasks, right? So we don't want just to assign a normal object like we did over here. As you can see, if I remove these properties, this is just a normal object. Okay, we want it to be an array of objects so we could map over it. All right, so actually let's call this to-do task and set to-dos, for example. So just call this to-dos. All right, and this is going to be react dot use state, and like I said, we're going to be mapping over an array of objects. So we just want one object over here, and basically it's going to create more objects for us, but we're just going to use the same properties we used over here. All right, but instead of new date, because we're not going to be creating a new date, all right, we're actually just going to be using the same date, and it's completed over here is going to be a Boolean value. So if I check out my old one over here, I'm going to find out over here, this is just a Boolean value. All right, so we're just going to change that, and the syntax of it is just Boolean. So Boolean. Okay, and one last thing, this is going to be the object ID. We want to also return the object ID. So this is going to be a property as well, because we're going to use this to delete and actually update the function later on. Okay, so let's continue on. Right now we set it up the properties correctly. Okay, but we just want to do one last thing. Since that we're updating this, actually we don't want it to be a const, we want this to be a var, right? Because const is basically going to just assign values strictly to that. All right, so we just want to do variable for now. All right, and let's just add in a comment over here. So state var and set state action. Okay, let's continue. All right, right now we're just going to be extending the parse object. So const to do is just going to be a parse dot parse Okay, let's do that. Parse and dot object. Okay, and that is going to be equal to basically extending the object class. All right, so basically we could just parse dot object dot extend, and over here we're just going to add in the class name, which is our to do in our back end. All right, so this is the class name, as you can see. All right, let's just double check the syntax I did before. All right, so what am I doing wrong? So if I just copy and paste this, all right, so it is just assigned a value. We cannot find the namespace parse. Okay, so actually I do remember this. So basically, because we're using TypeScript, I did a Stack Overflow question of this later on. Let me just log in and just go in for a second. So basically, we're just gonna get the types for the yarn parse. So here it is. Again, this was like 4 months ago. So actually, just to fix that, we just need to install the types, alright? So we're just gonna go back over here and go into your terminal if you don't have that already opened. Just open up a new terminal and do yarn add, and actually let's just get that from here, add type parse, and let's actually search that package on yarn before installing it. So yarn packages, and we're just gonna search the type parse. Okay, so actually we don't want to search the documentation yarn packages. We want to search yarn itself. Yep. So add type parse. Alright. So here it is. As you can see, it is pretty cool that they have the TypeScript definitions for parse. So we're just gonna add those. Okay, so that's why we're basically getting the error. The syntax itself was correct. We're extending the object correctly as according to the documentation. Even if you go into the Parse JavaScript SDK object extend, I'm just going to show you this while it's installing. So this is basically the developer's documentation also for the Parse backend if you also want to check this. So it's just taking a moment. All right, and let's restart our application right now. Go back to localhost. Let's actually close everything up. Just keep the SDK, yep. And let's just save that now. And as you can see right now, the error is still there. So we just need to refresh the server. All right, I'm just waiting for the server to start, and I'm going to show you the JavaScript SDK. So here's the SDK also documentation. You could instead use the async storage if you want to, but this is like a native kind of like local storage. We're basically just using the API itself to handle the storage for us. All right, let's go back to the local host. Let's just check out if there's still the error there or not. So as you can see, that error is gone because of the namespace for TypeScript was not there. So this is why we got also the errors that were at the beginning of the tutorial if you found that before. All right, so let's just continue. We're also going to do a parse query. with the to-do object itself. All right. So again, just to save your time, here it is. Parse query, that is just gonna be, we're gonna be mentioning that type for that. So parse query, and that is gonna be parse also dot query, and we're gonna be querying over, but actually, yeah, this is just one last thing. We need the object initializer. Yep, new parse query, and we're just gonna be getting that from the extended object over here, right? Because we want to basically get the properties, all right? And let's also start by doing this read tasks async function, all right? So we're just gonna do const read task, that is gonna be equal to an async function, all right? So we could just do an async arrow function, all right? And we're gonna use something called a try catch statement, all right? So basically, this is gonna help us if there is any errors in reading our application. And over here, basically, this is where all the magic happens. We're basically gonna be getting the object and basically extending that object in a for loop. So we're gonna be extending all the objects and we're gonna be displaying them over here. So actually, we want just one last thing from here. All right, I don't want the for loop. I just want to make sure. All right, so the parse query, I just have this duplicated. That is fine. All right, let's continue. So for the for loop, we actually need to loop over something. All right, and this is gonna be the results. So we need to basically find the results. All right, so if I go over here to the old project again, this is the method to basically find the results using the parse method over here. All right, so let's just get that. All right, so const of results is equal to a parse. Let's think about it for a second. We also want this to be a parse.object, but we want to also find that. Am I correct? So we're just gonna await that. Since that this is an async function, so we're just gonna await that parse query and that find that, and we're done. Also, we're gonna do a map array. So this is gonna be a map data. This is gonna be an empty array that's gonna hold all our objects, and let's actually get all the properties we want. All right, so for const object of result, let's start getting these. All right, so const object ID is going to be a string. All right, and this is going to be object dot get, and just we're going to get the object dot ID. All right, so we're actually not going to use the title. We're not going to use the get method over here. We're just going to use object dot ID. All right, in terms of the title, the description, we're going to use the get method. All right, so const title is going to be a string. This is going to be an object that get the title itself. And let's just copy and paste this 2 more times for the description. Description, and this is going to be task. So task description, again, we just mentioned the types for them, and we're using the object from the for loop to get the attributes using the parse method get. And over here, we're just mentioning a string for the title, the description, and the task. All right, but there's two more we actually want to get. So let's just check out the properties. Actually, there's three more. All right, so that's going to be const and is completed, and this is going to be a boolean. So object dot get is completed. Also, let me just double check the syntax. All right, so this just needs to be a lowercase boolean. All right, and const created at is also going to be a date. All right, so object dot get created at. One last thing, the object get dot updated at. All right, so we're actually almost done. We just need to actually assign these properties right now. We just got. All right. We could console.log each and every one of them if you want to, but right now it's not gonna do anything because basically we're not having this in our try statement. All right, so we could just add this in our try statement. All right, and let's continue. We're gonna let the result fix. This is gonna be basically assigning the properties to an object for each object. So basically this is what it means. So the object ID is going to be just the object ID we just assigned over here. All right, so it's not seeing that, so we maybe just need to add this into our for loop, and that is correct. All right, so we're going to add in a title, description, and everything. And as you can see, just like over in the old project, this is 3 strings, actually 4 strings. So these are 4 strings. All right, so string, and so on. This is going to be a boolean. This is going to be a date and another date. So we just want to append the data right now using the map data, and we're just going to use the .push method. We're just going to push the array, and we're going to push in the results fix. And that is it. We just want to do one last thing. We're going to set the to-dos to basically the map data. We're also going to return true, and we're going to catch the error over here. So console.log, or actually let's console.warn error has been found plus, nope, not this one. Yep, error has been found in the read tasks. Okay, so it's giving us an error right now. Why is it giving us this error, right? And property, okay, maybe it's just the order. So object ID, I don't know why it's saying a string over here because we're actually passing this as a date. So created add, oh, okay. We just need to add the new ones over here. All right. Go back over here. Let's actually remove this read task. And actually we're done. We just needed to fix this by basically setting up these new dates over here. That's why the properties were messing up. So let's go back over here. Oh, okay. So right now we could actually continue and actually map over them. Let's actually test that. So let's go into the to-dos and that map those to-do, and then the index. Let's just test that out, alright? We don't really have to do the whole GUI, but we're just gonna test that it works. So to-do dot object ID is the most important one. So to-do, and do you see these question marks I added? In case the object itself is undefined, basically, uh, we're basically going to be mapping over this to do as an array. So actually, just a second. To do that title, to do that description, and to do that task. And these question marks are basically if any of these are not passed, all right, this parameter, I'm sorry, it's going to handle that error for us, all right? So to do that is completed, to do that created at, and to do that updated at. All right, let's just check that out now. All right, let's go into the page over here and let's just refresh that. Is it passing in any of the objects? All right, so actually right now I think that the properties are actually empty. So let's actually try to console.log that. All right, so let's just console.log the to-dos themselves. Go back into the more tools. All right, in the console. All right, so we're getting an array over here, but basically we just, oh, okay, so actually I forgot something that's really, really important. We just need to use the use effect. So use effect, and this is going to basically run our display function. All right, so read tasks, and we just need to assign in an array with the dependency of read task. Let's check that out now. That should work. All right, so we're passing in the objects, right? So we're getting in the objects. But let me just check out why this is not displaying anything. All right, let's pass this as a P or something, for example. Maybe because the literally the background is dark, we can't see the text right now. All right, so P. All right, let's actually let's return actually an ion card for now, right? Let's add in all these properties. Let's just give it, okay. So why is it messing up? Okay, so the card does not work like that. Alright, so we could just add in an empty div for now. I just want to display the properties for you guys. Alright. Alright, so we just need to pass in the key. That is why we're getting all of this errors. So the key is going to be index. And let me just remove this. Alright, so what's happening over here? So there's something that I'm doing wrong. Alright, so actually, no. Right, that should work. The JSX tag children expects a single property, but multiple were passed. Alright, so alright, actually we need to return these. Alright, let's also remove this. So the div itself is still not working. Return. We need to pass in the key or it's gonna mess up like this. So let's try actually mapping this as an array, but we already have this as an array. So that is going to be a div, and just let's close that div again. Alright, let me check out the old project again, you guys, because this is just taking have an error. I think we're getting a for loop, so we're having the use effect and everything. Let's put this to the side. We're getting like an infinite loop or something like that. So to do is going to be any, index is going to be any. And what am I returning over in my old project? All right, let me just refresh this. I'm just mapping over a all right, so actually we are just returning a div. Like I said, it's gonna be with the key of to do plus the index. So we just need to restart the server probably. That's why it was messing up. All right, let's just refresh that. Ionic serve, and we passed in the key. We needed to pass in the key. I already tried that before, but it was messing up. I didn't know why. I only added in the any uh, namespaces or the parameters for the parameter of to do an index. So it's just going to start the application again. And we're going to be working on the GUI, by the way, in a little while, but I'm just making sure that we're passing in the data correctly. All right. So right now we're still getting an error. Objects are not valid as a React child. If you meant to render a collection of children, use an array instead. All right, so isn't this an array already? All right, so let's actually assign this to an array if it hasn't been already an array. Yeah, so that should fix that, but we're not seeing anything pass. All right, let's add in some paragraphs over here. And let's just give it the color of success. Let's just add in some test text to make sure that it's actually working. Okay. All right. So I think we just need to change this into an array. So it's const to-dos equals to array of to-dos. Const to-do array to-do array dot map. Let's check that out now. All right, we're still not getting any of the properties. All right, that is a little bit weird because I did do the same thing I did over here. All right, so I'm just mapping over the array or the to-dos. We could just map over the to-dos and any with the index of any. All right, and delete everything. Okay, async. Returning a div. All right, let's get some of these strings because basically we need to change those to strings and like these methods over here. But I was gonna keep that later on, but I don't really think this is the issue. We're not seeing any of the even normal strings. All right, let's try that. All right, so actually it did work. we just needed to stringify these values. Alright, I don't know why it was messing up on us, but I'm pretty sure it was working. I think we just needed to save it, literally. Okay, so basically, as you can see, we have, let's remove this test one. Alright, let's just add in the object ID. Alright, let's add in title. Let's add in description. Let's add in, this is just some normal text for now, and we're just going to update the GUI later on, alright? So, completed, and created at, and then updated at. Alright, this is just temporary, we're not going to really use this. Alright, we could just also give them some breaks. Let's just close these paragraphs for now. Or actually, let's continue on, alright, and let me remove this. We're gonna just do a table on, alright, and let's just continue styling this really simple, right? So we're just gonna do a table. Beside that, we're gonna do a table head, alright, with a table row and a table head, alright, and that is gonna be basically the object ID. Let's just test that how that looks. Yep, this is how we want it to look like. Alright, so object ID, this is just the headers. Alright, title, description, task, alright, completed, and created at, and then updated at, right? Let's afterwards create the table body, so tbody, trow as well, and then this is going to be a table data, right? So inside there we're just going to add these, so we could just make it organized, okay? So let's just open up another td and let's just copy this 5 more times. The title, the description, the task itself. It doesn't have to be in this syntax, it could be like this, just in one line. Okay, completed, which is stringified using this toLocalString method, and toDateString is basically gonna change it into a dateString method as well. These are basically just some JavaScript methods. Let's refresh these, and boom, we have the object ID, the titles, the description, the task, created that, and everything is passed, and we're basically going to be continuing on doing the edit of basically updating and deleting, but we're going to leave the GUI for the end. I'm just going to commit everything until here, guys, and we're going to be continuing on basically by doing the update for the task to be completed, and then we're going to be doing the delete button all in the same video over here. See you guys in the next section. Peace. Alright, you guys, so we are done with the create and read part of the application. We're going to be right now doing the delete, and then we're going to be doing the update. Alright, so just to do the delete part, we're basically going to get the ID. So let's first get the ID for each object, and that is going to be a variable. So ID, or we could call it ID or object ID, for example. Alright, that is going to be a string that is equal to object, or actually that is going to be to do dot the object. Alright, let me just check out the properties that it shows over here. So this dot object ID, this is the one we mentioned over here. And let's add in just a question mark in case it's not handled, alright? Let's just console.log that ID. Alright, let's go back to the browser, go into the console, and I'm just gonna give it a moment. Alright, so it's passing in the object IDs as you can see right now on line 107. Here it is. So I'm just gonna comment this out. Alright, so right now we're gonna do a async arrow function that is gonna be delete ToDo. Like I said, this is gonna be an async arrow function. Okay, so we're gonna add there a try and catch statement because basically we are just gonna be deleting using the object ID, and also we're just gonna be catching if there is any error. Alright, so error, this is gonna be any. Alright, just console.log that error or console.warn. Error has been found in delete ToDo and plus the error. Alright, so in the try statement we just want to get the object itself, and as you can see I already did that before, so I'm just gonna check out the syntax I did before. So what I did before is that basically I just assigned an object, I called it single object, and that is equal to the namespace of object. So parse that object actually, parse that object, and that is actually equal to await parse dot get the object ID. So let me just double check what I did over here. Parse object, and alright, this is gonna be the parse query, I'm sorry. So basically this is the const that I mentioned over here, so we could just put those over here. Alright, and that should work right now. We're just gonna get this over here. And we're just gonna await the parse query that get the object ID. Alright. Alright, so actually we need to right now just get the response. Alright, so console, or actually no, we're gonna do the response that is gonna be const response of the namespace of any, and that is gonna be equal to the single object dot destroy method. So basically this is just gonna destroy the or delete the application. So we just need the await over here. Alright. One last thing, I added over here just this if else statement, which basically says if there is a response, alright, please just alert the user that the object ID has been deleted. So alert and just backticks, right? An ID, this is called over here the object ID in the project we are doing on the left. So ToDo has been deleted. Alright. Also we're gonna do the same thing, another alert. Alright. Error. Nothing was deleted. You don't really need the backticks over here, but that is fine. Alright. We're just gonna return true. Okay, what else? I think that is all. We just need to add in a button to make sure that this actually works. Alright, so just in the table, just after the table body, we could just add in just a ion button, all right? And let's give that just a color of that was called error, all right? And let's just add an X for now, or actually let's add in an ion icon. And I already imported the icons before, so here they are. It's called close. So ion icon, and then icon is equal to close. Alright, let's go back to our application. Let's test that out, alright? So as you can see, here's the button right now, but the error naming for the color is wrong, so I'm just gonna change that. So expand is equal to block. It's either error or danger, kind of like bootstrap. So it was danger. Alright, so let's press on it and let's just double check if it's deleted or not. Okay, let's refresh that. Oh, I didn't add the on-click property. I am sorry. So that's why I didn't do anything. On-click, and that is basically just going to be delete the to-do. All right, let's try that again. Refresh the page. And that is done. So as you can see, we're deleting the to-do using the object ID. Let's refresh that again. You're going to find the first object deleted. Let's delete this one, for example. You're going to find out it's deleted by its object IDs. And that is pretty much it, you guys, for the delete part of the application. In the next part, we're going to be doing the checkbox over here that's going to be updating the each like object ID using the object ID we did over here. All right, so we just finished the delete to do. We need to do one last thing, and basically in the logic, so delete to do, and next time or next session, I'm sorry, it's going to be update to do. And finally, we're just going to be updating the GUI to better cards and also just to look better than this. All right, so see you guys in the next section. Alright, you guys, so basically right now we're going to be completing the task. We're going to be doing the updating to do. So let's just add in the checkbox. Alright, so okay, let's actually create the function itself. Alright, first, and then let's just do a little simple GUI afterwards. So we're just going to create a const and let's call it complete task like the old project over here. So complete task, and that is going to be again an async arrow function. So I'm just going to pass in async over here. That is also going to take a try catch statement with the error. So any error should be handled here. Console.warn error has been found, and yep. So basically right now we're going to be trying to get the object, all right, but we're not going to get the object ID. We basically want to get the old ID we got over here, all right? So basically this is going to be const object equals to 08, and dot, the method we're going to be using over here is just the get method over here, all right? And we're going to use the same query that we used over here, the parse query over here. So as you can see in my old project over here, I just have a duplicate of that. Yep, here it is. I just have a duplicate of that, so I don't really need to mention that again. Okay, so I'm just gonna go over here and await the parse, await the parse query, and dot get the also the same object ID that we got for the delete part. All right. So afterwards, we basically just want to object dot set, and that is going to be the property, right? So object dot set, and also object dot save, as per I remember to just save the properties we're passing, right? But I just need to check out right now. Okay. So basically, we're just setting the ID again, and I'm just setting the Boolean value to is completed to true because we're just gonna update it to be true, right? And then the object ID again, this is the property name, and over here let's just add in the object ID we got, and we're gonna be saving afterwards, and that is pretty much it, you guys. We're done with the logic. Let's just format this document. All right, and let's check out a box over here. Let's make a checkbox over here actually. uh all right, so let's add a simple input over here. Again, I'm gonna change this later on. All right, so we want this to be basically a type of checkbox. So type of checkbox, and we want this to be on click. Not really sure that will work on an input, but I do remember that I did that on a, it was not an input. I did do that something differently. I'm just gonna double check that. Yeah, the IM checkbox. All right, so let's just get this one for now. All right, and basically I'm explaining what I'm doing over here, right? So basically I just added in the IM checkbox. I gave it a color of medium, and on click we're just calling in the function we just added, the update one, and basically it is disabled, all right, when basically the to-do is completed is true. All right, so this is basically what I just did in the old project. All right, let's go back to the application over here. Let's just test that out. All right, okay, so what is happening over here? Let's refresh that, and basically it's going from false to true, as you can see, and it is disabled right now. I can set it, I can delete it, but I can't set it. And this one's still false, so when I refresh the page, this is going to be true, right? So there's going to be one last function that we're going to be doing, you guys. Instead of keeping on refreshing the page, we're just going to add in a button over here that's going to refresh the page. And finally, we're just going to style the GUI cards over here, and afterwards we're just going to deploy this project to Netlify. All right, so see you guys in the next section where we're basically going to be refreshing the tasks. All right, and afterwards we are actually going to be styling the GUI for the cards, and again, like I said, we're just going to be deploying that later on. See you guys next section. All right, you guys, so basically I'm going to do the refresh task over here as a challenge for you guys, but basically it's kind of like the read tasks, but the only difference is we're basically going to be using actually the read tasks dependency as like a dependency, I'm sorry, so we could basically refresh that as well. All right, so I'm just going to copy this from my old project, and like I said, I'm just going to leave this as a challenge, but I'm going to give you a hint. Basically, here it is if you want to use the same one I used. All right, but I just need to add one last thing. So this is going to be a refresh task. All right, and then we just need to add in this dependency. All right, so that is pretty much it, and here it is, refresh task, if you guys want to do it. All right, so let's continue on. We're going to go on to the GUI right now. All right, so actually let's start by doing something called the Ion ripple effect. All right, we're just going to do that. and afterwards we're gonna just assign an ion grid. All right, and we're actually gonna give that a simple fixed equals to true. All right, and we're gonna add that ripple effect inside. We're also gonna add in an ion row and an ion column, and we're just gonna add in the table inside there. All right, and we're gonna give that uh, uh, um, for now we're not gonna give those any sizes. Let's just check out how the GUI looks. Let's keep that to the side. All right, and we don't actually need the other page anymore. We can do this without the hints that I have from the old project anymore, because we're not doing the logic anymore. By the way, you guys, this takes like a couple of like research and a lot of like, this took me like a couple of months to actually get correctly for you guys. So because I was working on other projects as well, so sometimes these things take time. All right, so I'm just gonna put this to the side, and here it is. Close the console. Let's continue. All right, so we actually want to add in inside there an ion card, as per I remember. All right, and let's add in the table inside there. Okay, let's check that out now. And as you can see right now, it's starting to look a little bit better, piece by piece. Okay, let's actually remove this object ID. All right, and let's actually remove the title as well. Let's just keep the completed create at, updated at, and this, or actually no, let's just keep the old project also as well. Like I said, I just keep it with me, guys, just to save time for recording, because if I keep doing this from my mind, this usually takes a lot of time. So I don't want to waste your time by just figuring out what I did before. Here it is. I'm just gonna open up this tab over here. Let's close this window, okay? We're gonna split this, and let's just check out what I did before, okay? So I did the ripple effect and then an ion card. All right. So we don't really need this grid system inside actually the card itself. So we need it actually inside the card itself. All right. Let's check out how that looks now. And we don't have the button inside, so we could just add that inside. Let's just add it into the row. Okay. So let's do something cool, right? Let's add this icon iron column. Let's make it to the size of 10. All right. So iron column of size of 10. Let's just keep this to the side. Just get a little bit of a hint. We don't really need it that much. All right, and we're gonna get the button. We're also gonna add that button into its own ion column. So ion column, and that is gonna be the size of 12. All right. Let's check out how that looks now. Okay. So we also want to remove that object ID from here from the table data. You just want it to be title, description, and the task, and completed. Created that, updated that. All right. Let's add in the ion card header. So ion card. Uh, this is gonna be the content we just did. So ion card content. And let's just add in the row over here. Okay, let's just refresh that now. Okay, and also let's remove this old paragraph over here. Let's format the document, and afterwards we are basically gonna continue on, but we just want to add in the Ion card header, right? So Ion card header, all right, and the Ion card header is gonna be just the title. So let's remove this, and let's actually remove this as well. Okay, let's check that out now. All right, so as you can see right now, we have the Ion card header. All right, so we want in the header to actually have this delete button over here like I did before. If you guys want to do that, we can just check out the example that I did over here. All right, so what I basically did is just I added in some Ion text and Ion row after the header. I just did a little bit of a grid system. So Ion row and Ion column as well. All right, this is going to take the size of 10. This is what I wanted to do before. This is going to be the title, and we're going to add in also another, or actually let's just copy the button over here. This is going to be size of 2, not 12, all right? We just need all the columns, and we're going to add that over here. Let's check it out now. All right, so it should look, yep, it should look like we want it to be. All right, we can also make this to be like 9 and this to be 3, for this to be a little bit more bigger if you want to. I think this looks a little bit better. And in the Ion card header, we could also change the colors. So I'm gonna just copy the properties from here, but again, I'm gonna show you what this means, right? Or actually, let's just do one. Let's do one without actually copying this first. So this is basically the normal color property, alright, you guys? So let's say I do this like success, for example. I don't want all of them to just look green because like let's say I create another one, test4, test4 for example, test4, and let's add in just a simple button, button, alright, and this is gonna be the refresh tasks. So on click fresh tasks. Alright, so let's just give that the color of, it's called here Terry, I think, to be, that's actually secondary, for example. Alright, alright, this one's cool as well. But we don't want to map over that. So let's just put that uh, outside the map. Alright, just over here. That is fine. Alright, we just want one refresh button. And let's add in the Ion icon we imported before. So Ion icon, and it's called return down back. Return down back. And let's give it the expand of block. Alright, so right now let's, if we actually like add in test4, test4, test4. Alright, let's refresh it now. As you can see, test4 has been created and refreshed directly, but we want this to look differently from green. So that is why we do this logic that is over here that I showed you, okay? So that is going to be basically simple logic. So if the to-do is completed, right, is equal to true, we could do success, right? Other than that, we want it to be, for example, medium, all right? And medium is just going to be like a grayish color. So as you can see right now, the uncompleted one is in gray. So that's pretty cool. Let's also copy this for the header as well, again, so like I don't want to waste your time. Again, I did this just to be a light one because I'm using the dark theme, so this one gonna be looking dark over here. And warning as well over here for this one to be not completed. Uh, uh, uh. Could also copy and this from here. All right, so it's starting to look a little bit more better. Let's continue on. What else did I do? I think basically that is all. We don't really need anything else more than this. You could add in some uh more styling than this, like make the cards a little bit bigger and everything. But I think for now that is not bad at all. But let's just add in one last thing. This is gonna be the card subtitle, and instead of the description over here, let's remove this description from here, and just between the card header and content, we're gonna add in the subtitle. Alright, let's check that out right now, and we're gonna put the description as a subtitle. So yeah, that looks a lot better right now. Alright, we wanna also add in the item divider between those. So the and item divider is basically just gonna divide these tasks between each other, as you can see. You can also remove this. You don't really need this if you want to. You don't really need to map over them, but you can if you want to. I don't really want them, but again, I think this looks good enough. We just need to add one last thing, which is going to be the task itself. I want it to look a little bit more better than this, so I'm just going to check out this old styling. And what did I do for the task card? I just did an ion item. Alright, I actually just added in just a normal ion item. Let me check that out. Alright, so that is basically it. This is the task itself. Alright, you can just do this. And that is pretty much it, you guys. We're done basically. Let's just close this, format the document, and we're done. We don't really need to do anything else. You could change the colors and the styling as much as you want. So let's say green tomatoes, for example. Green tomatoes, green tomatoes. Alright, let's refresh the green tomatoes. And here is the green tomatoes. Let's make that completed. Refresh. It is completed. Let's delete test 4. So the object ID has been deleted. And we're done with the CRUD application, you guys. So I'm just going to be deploying this. Right, so just before deploying this, you just need to make sure that we got no issues in your application. All right, so right now, as you could see, we're still having some of these uh, warnings and everything. Right, so let's just remove these warnings. So let's just remove these. Well, actually, we just need to do one last thing from the old project. But again, I'm gonna leave that up to you guys as a challenge, which is basically just the count of the tasks over here. And the old one I did, uh, let me just show you the Ionic. Yep, which is gonna need to be signed in. Yep. So this one basically, you could just do a to do tasks.length and just use the badge if you want to. Alright, so if I just go over here and I just go into the to do dot, oh, it wasn't dot length, or actually it was, but it's the to-dos themselves, not only the to-do. So to-dos the length. Yep. And I think that is pretty much it. Let me just actually check the Ionic application over here. So yeah, as you can see here it is. We could just add in the badge over here beside this button. So if you want to do that, all we actually really need to do is just, let's copy this, just go over the button over here. And also let's just give this a ion column. All right, let's just give this a size of 10. And this is going to be an ion badge. All right, which is going to be also in an ion column. And this is going to be the size of 2. Let's give this color badge, let's give it just a color of medium, for example. Let's check it out now, how it looks. All right, you just need to add in the row and the button to the column. All right, ion row. And there it is. So yeah, as you can see, let's just add in task 3, for example. Task 3, task 3. All right, first that. So that just turned to 3 and it's uncompleted. So you guys could style it more than this, but I think that is enough. I don't want to make this longer for you guys. So, all right, let's actually just remove all the errors and check out what errors there are just before deployment, all right? So, ion page, ion item divider. Let's just remove the unused, okay. Okay, I think I just removed a row. Did I remove the row? Yep, I did remove the row incorrectly. Alright, so ion row. And what else errors are a grid system also? Alright, so we're done. Alright, what else errors are we having? I just want to make sure that we have no warnings over here and anything. Alright, so just to check out if it's actually gonna work or not, you could do a GitHub. Like, let me go into my Netlify. Alright, you could just do like Ionic build. Let me show you something just before they build the application and deploy it. Alright, so Ionic build. Basically, Ionic build is it builds the application for production. Alright, so if we actually do Ionic build, let's check that out. That probably is not going to work because we have some errors or actually warnings, but let's just double check that. So basically, again, to just deploy the application, we need to sign up for Netlify and go into site, add a new site, import an existing project. You could deploy it manually. Just get that build folder. Alright, so after, yeah, this folder over here, just copy and paste this manually over here. So just drag and drop it or just upload it. Or you could do the GitHub deployment that I'm gonna basically be doing over here. Alright, but I'm not really sure if I'm logged in right now. If it's telling me to log in, I'm not gonna log in. Okay. The only problem is I actually just have my uh, 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 my to do on my Ango account. All right. So let's just search to do. Just check it out if I just have any. Um, I already deployed this one. This is the old one. So actually, let's just deploy this manually. All right. Let's try the manual version. So I'm just gonna let it finish the production build. All right. All right. Let's just remove this one. We don't need this one. And let's just check out if there are any other problems. All right. So we're getting warnings, and I already installed the like the types for the type space, for the namespaces. I'm sorry. Even I have that in the README. Uh, all right. Let me just double check. I actually did install those types. It's not gonna work if you guys have any errors. All right. But I'm already. I'm almost done. I'm sorry. Here it is. I got this before. All right, so actually it did finish the build because we just have warnings. We don't have errors, all right? But let's actually check out if it did work or not, all right? So I'm just gonna install this again. I'm pretty sure I already installed this before. And let's just open up the folder over here in the desktop. Ionic, to do app, and just the build folder. Go into your Netlify account, add new site, deploy that manually. Let's just try that, or if it doesn't work, I'm just gonna go onto my GitHub account and try to deploy it using the GitHub method, alright? So it's uploading right now. I'm just gonna give it a moment. Alright. And like I said, drag and drop the build folder after just running Ionic build. Alright. You can also Ionic build production. Alright. So origin returned an error code. What is that? Okay. Let's actually do Ionic build production then. Alright. Production and also optimize JS. So these flags, it's just gonna help us optimize the application. Alright. So again, the old deployment I did, you guys, was using GitHub. So if this does not work on the second time, I'm just gonna basically go into my other account and just do the GitHub upload, alright? So I'm just waiting for the new build to finish. And I'll get back to you in a few moments. Alright you guys, so this is the last section. We're just going to be deploying the website. Alright, just make sure you don't have any errors. So if you have any errors still in the project, just make sure to remove those. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear everything over here. Go into GitHub, alright, because we're going to use GitHub and Netlify together. Just start a new repository. So go to your repositories or go to here, new, and just create a new one. Alright, call it whatever you want, make it private. Let's call it ToDo app, for example. Alright, and you're just gonna hit in these commands inside here, alright? So we're just gonna git init. I already added that before, and then git add dot, which is git add all basically. Git commit m, and this is just a comment, initial comment, and git branch main, so main m and then main. Right, and the commands are over here again. If you do not forget it, if you do not know them, I already have them set it up, right? So just after adding the branch, make sure to add the origin and then push that. Right, I already have that in another repository, so I don't really need this repository anyways. But after basically uh, installing this, alright, and setting up GitHub, you're just gonna have this commit, right? So you're just gonna go into Netlify and then just inside your sites over here, just add a new website, import from an existing project, GitHub, and just search your to-do. Okay, and basically this is the one you want. I already have mine uploaded, so I'm just gonna show you what I did. So here it is. Just make sure when you're uploading the website to add in this, alright? This is basically gonna help you deploy the website. It did not work with me without doing this step, so I'm just gonna show you what I did, alright? So go into deploys, alright? And here's the failed ones. Why did they fail? Because they did not have the .env keys, alright? So just make sure to go over here, alright, to your website setting and then build and deploy, and then just scroll down to environment variables, right? So in terms of the environment variables, we're just gonna add in the .env variables over here. So just make sure to add the variables over here, the keys, and the values are gonna be over here. One last thing, just make sure to add CI to be false, right? And this is basically just an error that comes out for the .env file, right? So if I save that and I go into deploys and I trigger the deploy, I deploy the website. So I'm just gonna give it a few more moments, and let me close everything up, you guys. And by the way, I do have a public commit for this to-do app, so if you guys want to use that. Alright, and that is pretty much it, you guys. So I'm just gonna deploy it, and I'm just waiting for the deploy to finish. And as you can see, it's just gonna install and build the website for you, and then basically it's gonna be deployed to whatever website name you want to. So I could just change the name of the website. Alright, let's go back. I'm just keeping this deployment over here, and it's done. So as you can see, Netlify build complete, site is live. Alright, I'm just gonna change the name of the website. This is one last thing we're gonna do. Change website name. So ToDo and go edu, ToDo and go edu, for example. Alright, so let's check it out now. And as you can see here, we have our application done. It works. Test 5. Let's copy and paste this. Boom. Refresh the tasks. We have 4 tasks uncompleted. Now it's completed. And if we refresh it, it's working. If we delete it, it's working. Let's refresh that. And as you can see, the to-do application is done, you guys. Comment and like and subscribe and tell me guys what you think about this playlist. And if you guys actually really like this, just let me know in the comments, and I will continue on making these playlists for you guys. See you guys in the next video. This was Angry Video, and peace.